All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Exposure Runs the Podcast. I'm your host, Mustafa. Today's guests are a father and son business owners of SVI Sportsware, literally our very first official sponsor of Exposure Runs. With a quick search of their website, www.svisportswear.com, you will see Exposure Runs under the conferences, teams, and camp section. I checked. It was there. I was hyped. I definitely was hyped. They currently provide high-quality uniforms and sports merchandise for 120 AAU teams, which is a hell of a lot. 100 schools across 14 states, 6 NBA players, and I'm going to ask you which 6 players that it is. An NFL player, I'll ask about him as well, have trusted them to provide them with their sportswear needs. Sportswear that you guys provide: basketball, football, including flag, baseball, softball, cheerleading, soccer, volleyball, track, playing or coaching golf, which is crazy because you could be a coach or you could be playing, bowling, wrestling, cycling, and tennis. Is there any sport that you guys do not cover?
Nothing.
There's a few more you can add too. We actually did some roller derby gear not too long ago.
Are you serious?
We just did some bowling uniforms.
Roller
derby.
That's wild. Also, you guys are the creator of the upcoming Prep Ball Stars Midwest Challenge that is putting Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Indiana in a winner-takes-all one-day tournament for the King of the Midwest crown. Right. The top players from all 4 states will be in attendance, which I am working to confirm a few more Illinois players. And rumor has it, I'll be the one to say it, I won't let you, that Illinois seems to really bitch up every time this tournament comes around. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But I'd like to welcome Anthony and Grant Leach to the show. Hello, gentlemen.
How you doing?
Good.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah,
appreciate you guys being here. This is actually... I always say every time somebody comes up here, I always say, "Oh, it's kind of special to me." But no, this one is special. I do appreciate you guys. We actually after every show, and I don't know how many shows that you guys have actually watched all the way through. I know that you do tap into the reels. I know that you do tap into some of the shows. But at the end of every show, we make sure that we mention you guys by name.
Mandatory.
It's mandatory.
That's love.
That is mandatory. So after my children,
appreciate that.
There comes you and your son and SVI. We name y'all, and I write it down so I don't forget. It's right there.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Just to let you guys know. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. I already asked, is there any sport you don't cover? You said you just added roller derby, and what was the other sport? I had mentioned bowling.
We did.
You said
bowling.
Right.
So if a person comes to you from any sports genre and asks you if you would uniform them, if you don't already, would you find a way to do so?
Absolutely. I mean, our motto is create your own adventure. That's our motto. That's resonated with our customers. And so whatever that adventure is, if it's roller derby, if it's cycling, if it's bowling, if it's, our wheelhouse has been basketball, but I mean, anything sports we'll do. Even if it's a corporate, we have a lot of corporate companies that we do work for as well, because we feel like everyone needs sportswear. I mean, Residence Inn, we do their stuff. The Chamber, Indie Chamber, anyone like that. So because it might be a backpack, it may be a golf shirt, quarter zip, things like that. So, we do the corporate work as well. Because, I've been in the corporate arena too.
Right.
And I remember getting this, this is I think it was our second year, and we had 3,000 employees in our company that I was working for. And we got this quarter zip. It had our logo on one side, there was an Under Armour shirt on the other. And I thought to myself, man, that could have been SVI.
I could do that.
Yeah.
Better.
That's 3,000 in the
employees.
mail.
You did the
right?
math.
And somebody probably just... was in the budget, pizza money for a large company like us at the time. So, so that too.
So as you were talking, you said, well, we'll, do damn near any sport, create your own adventure. I literally, the immaturity in me was trying to think of some freaky shit to think of that could be a sport to say, would you? And I couldn't think of nothing while you were talking. I was listening intently. No, I'm talking about some freaky, just the just to fuck with Anthony a little bit. I was gonna say some freak, but I really couldn't think of nothing. I don't know. I just wanted to see like what you.
He tried.
I swear, I was listening to you intently. The 3,000 employees, the logos, and the Under Armour, and I'm like, what can I stump in? And I couldn't think of nothing. There we go.
I forgot. You mentioned that you was gonna ask this question. I was like, let me prepare my dad so he could think of something creative to say, but I completely forgot.
Yeah. So I'll be trying to.
I'm pretty light on my feet, so I'll be
okay. All right, cool. We gonna see.
Not my first rodeo behind the mic.
Okay. All right. I feel like a pause need to go in there, but we gonna let that ride. I feel like it is.
It's warranted.
But it's cool.
No diddy.
Yeah, but it's cool. When did you start SVI and why?
Well, I go even further back with this young man here. Started coaching him in 4th grade.
Okay.
He's 28 now, but and so was able to not only help him get a Division I scholarship. He finished up NAIA, but I was also able to help 25 other kids. We set up was Hoopmatics basketball, which you still have as a 501c3. And, found that having that orange dimple ball be a blessing to the players and the parents where they can, get paid to go to college. So started the other platform, which is Prep Ball Stars, which we do the Midwest Challenge through. So just to help kids get exposure. Most of the things we do with Prep Ball Stars, we don't even charge for it. Write-ups and stuff like that a lot of companies do. We just do it just to help the kids. So that platform just highlights and promotes youth sports.
Right.
And then we started just doing just goofy red, white, and blue hoodies and shirts and stuff when we would set up at tournaments. And then coaches started coming to me saying, can you do this for us? Can you do that? And I thought, wait a minute, is there a need for this? And so with my background I worked for a few Fortune 50 companies. I said, if I want to do it, I want to create a brand. I don't want to just make uniforms for people. I want to create a brand. So the company was already called SVI. It was already Sports Ventures International. So I just said, we'll make it SVI Sportsware. I don't know where Create Your Own Adventure came from. It was one of those epiphanies at 3 o'clock in the morning after eating pizza with anchovies or whatever it was.
It just came to you.
But it's worked. It's worked for us. And,
how did you come up with the SVI name?
It's funny. Whenever I've done things, I always try to think broadly with it. So I said, sports is all over the world. So, I always joke with people because I'm from Indiana. I tell people that the I in SVI doesn't stand for Indiana, it stands for international. Because we had this vision where we want to do sports all over the world. I would love to do a camp or something in Africa. We did a camp in France in last June. So that's really the vision for it to eventually be all over the world with our brand.
I think a lot of that just comes from dreaming big, the Create Your Own Adventure motto. It just kind of all fits. And then just talking about how we got started, my dad always just instilled me to dream big, chase your goals. And I remember when we started that team, they talked about in 4th grade, we was practicing outside at a park.
Right.
Our first jerseys we got from
Walmart.
I think from Walmart. It was like some starter tank top and pants set that had nothing on it. We just took it somewhere to get screen print.
Shaq shoes or whatever.
And that was our uniform.
Right.
And I start, thinking about how far we've come from that to, that first year of practicing outside. 4 or 5 years later, we're ranked in the country playing at the biggest tournaments, playing at Assembly Hall. And, just seeing where we are today, it's really crazy. So
it's interesting listening to you talk about that journey, right? And kind of unrelated, but kind of related, just thinking about the journey from childhood to now. I got a package today from my brother who sent us a package. I was telling you on the phone when you had called me earlier. And it took him 13 years to put together these childhood letters that my dad wrote us. And all 6 of my siblings, he made a pile for each of us and sent us each our own pile of letters that were addressed to us from my dad. And it was like he demanded, he gave everybody theirs in Philly. They're all in Philly. And he had to mail me and my sister, she lives in California, ours. And he demanded that we call him when we opened it, and it was like one of the most emotional things I ever experienced in my life. So my point to that is just regurgitating or thinking about some of those childhood things that you can kind of think about and just really appreciate that journey. That's pretty dope. Like to think about that.
I think I want to just say this because I think even going through that journey as a basketball player, I think one of the best things I'm the proudest of as a father is I always instilled in him that he was more than a basketball player.
Mm-hmm,
I didn't want his only identity to be a basketball player. I didn't want when that ball stopped bouncing that he didn't have something else. So when he was in college, I was sending him books, Millionaire Mind, If It Ain't Broke, Break It, whatever. So he was reading these books. So he actually ended his basketball career a year early. He said, "Dad, I'm done. I'm ready to stop." And because sometimes when you get to that pinnacle of success as a Division I player, and you're having tournaments in Vegas and staying in these nice hotels where you haven't done that before, and then it's over, and then in some cases, unfortunately, that's the peak of some of these kids' lives.
Yep.
And I didn't want that to be
the peak of his,
right? So that's one of the things that we're passionate about too. Is as we have events, is talking to players about, listen, let this don't use the orange dimple ball. Don't let it use you, because you can go all over the world with, use that to go all over the world. I've got another thing I'm proud of. I've got I've got 2 kids that play for me. They're in medical school right now, and one of them's at Harvard and he's black. So to think
that's definitely a chest pumping type of.
That almost makes me shed a tear when I think about that orange dimple ball helped somebody get to Harvard. Right?
Harvard
medical school. So that's just crazy to me. So,
and even as much as you try to prepare for that transition from being a basketball player to it being over with, as much as I thought I was prepared, it's really hard to go through. I talk to kids about that all the time. What
was the hardest thing?
As much as you can prepare. When I think about what the hardest thing is, I think the hardest thing was going from being in an environment where you're just with your boys, with your brothers, being a kid,
that
basically,
that
camaraderie. And then you go, at least in my situation, I went to working in finance where I'm the youngest person, the only black person. And it just felt like looking back 6 months ago, I was just having a good time with my boys. So you just kind of missed that aspect of it. And then obviously the competition and just playing the game.
Do you remember your dad was talking about the books and stuff he used to send you? Do you remember those books? And when you first got them, admittedly, was your initial thought process oh my God, these books, I'm not reading this? Or was it ooh, books, let me read these? What was your initial whatever as a young adult and your dad is sending you some educational literature?
I mean, I always kind of liked to read growing up, not a ton. I wasn't the best student in high school. I didn't really try that much. I a 2.9 GPA, but I feel in college I really turned it on. So when he was sending me books, there was some I was okay, I'm not reading this, but there were definitely some that were good books that I read that I still think about today, and I recommend. I was honestly, man, I was the kid on the team. Everybody was calling me a nerd and teasing me because I'm on the plane on our bus trips reading books. They're this dude over here reading books, but I think it's important, and it doesn't have to be from reading books, but I think it's important to just be a lifelong learner. Always trying to get better, whether it's watching YouTube videos or podcasts. You've had some legends on this podcast. It's just a lot of different ways you can get information.
Absolutely, and education is paramount, especially you think about the different age differentiation between all of us up here, and even with Bo, it's you're never too old to continue learning. Learning should be a lifelong thing.
Exactly.
You should always be willing to be receptive of information and just learning, and that's definitely something for me. Even now, I'm not a. My wife has bought me the last 3 or 4 books she has bought me. She bought me the Will Smith book, she bought me the Obama book, and she bought me the Andre Iguodala book. And all 3 of those books I've started. I have yet to finish them. I've had them for a while now. I have yet to finish them. So I'm not a sit down and, grab a cup of coffee or whatever type of a reader. I'm more of a I'll pick up information from here, pick up some information from there, and just kind of apply it accordingly. So I'm definitely.
Maybe you should try the audiobooks.
Audible is amazing.
Audible is
amazing.
And you can put on 2 times speed, and you can be driving or.
I can't.
And you can bookmark stuff. I've been using Audible forever.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't know how I would be with letting somebody read to me. I don't. The concept
You
of
feel like you need
that.
to say pause to that too or something?
No, I mean now that you say that, maybe I didn't think about that. However, okay, possibly.
Okay.
But just the whole concept, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say
It's
yeah.
not like it's a dude whispering in your ear. Like,
I mean, but technically it is. It's like, if the book starts off like the birds were chirping under the moonlight and the stars were gazing.
I think you can change the voice too, so you can change to a woman.
They got something like that.
Okay.
Even Dame Dash in the book where he had like music behind it.
I'm not listening to shit. David
Oh yeah,
Dash.
sometimes the author will read
Yeah,
it. So
I'm
like,
just saying, like authors do that. Like they put music behind it just in case you'll want to just hear.
I know. I'll try it. Just because I feel like y'all jumping me in this. I'll,
Just enlighten you.
I mean, tomato. Enlighten and jumping is the same thing, in my opinion. I'm gonna just go ahead and say that. All right, but I'll try it. I mean, just because.
yeah, just give it a try.
Yeah, just to appease you guys, I can go ahead and text Grant, and the next time I see you, like I tried that shit and I ain't like it. Or
Why don't you get him one? Get him one like with Barry White baritone.
see,
voice.
yeah, that's a pause.
Yeah.
That's a pause right there.
That's
Yeah, I'm not listening to Barry White like. But I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. You mentioned that. You mentioned that. You mentioned that before SVI, you were working at Fortune 500 companies. What exactly did you do before you started SVI?
Well, my background is in sales management. So I worked for Pepsi and Kraft companies like that.
Okay.
The NutraSweet company and more senior executive roles. As a national account manager, director at NutraSweet, places like that.
Okay.
So I learned there from the sales standpoint and how to market and things like that, which has helped me to help run this company, do some of the marketing with it.
For you, how hard was it for you to transition out of working where, for lack of a better term, like there was a steady flow of income from your job
Right.
to starting your own business and until there was a steady flow of income through SVI. Like, how difficult was that for you?
Well, it was hard because my last role in corporate, I worked for a company that made drugs out of human plasma. So I was a specialty manager, and I worked in Ohio. So I was driving 700 miles back and forth a week, and was coming back and doing SVI. But I reached a point where honestly I was cheating both companies. And you have to make a decision whether you say, am I going to dive into my own business full time or pull back and put more energy
into somebody else's stuff,
to someone who's paying me.
Mm-hmm.
And I made the decision to focus on SVI, and it was the right decision. There was a number that I wanted to hit first financially, and we hit that number, and then we're gonna surpass it and go further. So,
And I just want to say, like, I take so much pride in my dad. Like, I love my dad so much, and he works so hard. When I tell you, I don't know how he did both jobs. Like he was driving to Ohio, like 4 hours away, working there all week, and then Thursday to Sunday, doing the SVI stuff, taking care of my grandparents, his parents, and that's something we kind of bonded over when we first kind of connected. Then I have a little brother that he takes care of, like. And it's kind of a recurring thing over my whole life. I just felt like my dad was such a hard worker, and he just instilled a lot in me. And I'm just really proud of you, seriously. So I'm really excited about where we are with the business, and we got a bright future.
That was dope. How did that feel?
I feel great, because I look back now that I'm not doing that,
Right.
Because and quite frankly, we're trying to get even others to do pieces of what I was doing before, and it's hard for them to do the sliver of what I was doing with this business, because it's any business is hard. I mean, it looks glamorous and sexy to have your own business, and people say they want it, but do you really want it? Because you got to work.
I remember that first big order that we got. I think it was with Jeff T.
Yeah, with T.
And that was probably like 2019.
That was 2019.
2019.
So we'll tell the story.
December.
So our very first. So Sean Teague, Jeff Teague's dad, they own a gym,
The Factory,
D1
many
in Indianapolis.
played there, I'm sure.
And Jeff and Marcus, who went to Kentucky, who actually played here with the Bulls. They own it still, and they opened that in I think 2017 or whatever it was. So when I came up with this, SVI Sportsware and this concept, the first person I text was Sean. And what's crazy is I've got a lot of confidence in everything that I've done, but I almost didn't text him. I was like, he's not gonna do this with me. Mm-hmm. So I still have the text saying I'm always keep it. But I texted him and said, hey, this is what I'm doing now or looking to do. And he said, yeah, I'll talk to you. Went and talked to him. It took 2 months, but we beat out Wilson and Under Armour for his business. It's a 14-team program. It was a big order, and it was a 1,260-piece order. That was our first AAU program.
Wow.
Was Team Teague. Our second AAU program was George Hill's program, who
Wow.
was a 12-year veteran. So those two things lit the match for this company.
Wow.
And, it's not very many people, black, white, or other, that could say that their very first purchases were with NBA sponsor.
And do you
programs.
still
Yes,
provide
they-
uniforms for them?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so that this is their 5th year with us.
But I just wanted to finish that point of that first order. Like, my grandfather was in the hospital
For 18 days.
for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think I was up to like 5 a.m. sorting all 1,200 of those pieces for Teague to get it to them in time.
Yep.
And it's just crazy to me that you're doing that by yourself for like 2 years, living in Ohio. And
So
just
right now,
doing all that.
like, you guys have people working for you for SVI, or is it still just you two primarily?
We have some. We don't have any full-time employees other than myself, but we do have an in-grant as well. But we have people that we are paying to do certain tasks, fulfillment, and we got consultants and salespeople, video photographers, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're probably a year away from having some full-time employees.
Okay.
So, but it's definitely coming.
Okay, I'm gonna bookmark that. What made you start the Midwest Challenge? You talked a little bit about it earlier, but like, what made you, now include that caveat onto your plate?
Well, when I was 12, 14 years old, somewhere in there, I went to the Indiana-Kentucky. We have an Indiana-Kentucky series. That's
Okay.
a traditional event in Indiana.
Okay.
With the Mr. Basketball and
Gotcha.
all that. So I went to the very first one was when I was that age, and Ray Tolbert, who ultimately ended up coaching with me, actually he coached Grant, was Mr. Basketball in I think 77. And ended up playing at IU, played for Bobby Knight, won a ring with the Lakers. I think he's the only player to ever win a NIT, NCAA, and NBA championship.
Wow.
But going to that, I thought, well, let's do sort of a different version of that, but have 4 teams. And it was 2018, and I actually didn't make the decision to even do the event until pretty late. But I've got a lot of great relationships with the players. So there was 4 players that I called. Eric Hunter Jr., who played at Purdue, his dad. Then Aaron Henry, who played for the Sixers for a little bit, played at Michigan State. Jerron Coleman, who's actually just finishing up in Nebraska, also played in Missouri and Ball State. And then Kevin Easley, who just finished up at Coastal Carolina. Also, he played at TCU as well.
Okay.
I called those 4 dads, and within 10 minutes, they all said, yeah, I'll do it. And we got everybody we needed after that. But that year, that was a 2018, Tyrese Halliburton played for Team Wisconsin.
Okay.
Trevion Williams played for Team Michigan. So we had a really good Xavier Pinson from Illinois,
from
played for
Illinois.
Team Illinois. So Zion Young played for Team Illinois. So it was that was the very first one. It turned out really well from a competition standpoint.
So just kind of speaking a little bit, kind of jumping ahead, when you talking about this event and some of the fall off from Illinois. And I know you're an Indiana guy, but why do you think that has been over the last few years that a team from Illinois has either not shown up or they're not competing very well in your event? Why do you think that is?
I don't really know
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't really know, the answer to that, because obviously we know there's a lot of great players coming out of Chicago and all across Illinois, and it's unfortunate because it would just take our event to the next level. I think there's just a lot of missed opportunity there. So we look forward to this year, having some of the top players coming, and really taking the event to another level.
I would say this. I wish and I lived in Chicago for most of the 90s.
Okay.
I wish the unity was better here. I wish
I was hoping you was going to lead me down
because
that path.
like the top programs in Indiana are Indiana Elite and Indy Heat.
Indy Heat.
They're not fighting
Beefing,
like that.
right.
Not beefing. I mean, they're competitive.
Right,
they
right,
wanna
right,
kick
right.
each other's, but they're not beefing like that. And it's just different. Even with dealing with the parents in Indiana, and and just there's just more. There's more to
Camaraderie.
deal with here with the handlers, and it's like it makes you feel like if you D2 on up, you got to have it takes a lot, or they want to get paid, and that sort of thing. Whereas all that's going to come. I mean, it's going to be a great event, and we haven't had that issue with Indiana, Wisconsin, and Michigan.
That's what I was going to ask you.
We just haven't. I mean,
Are the other states that are included in your event, do you have as hard of a time fielding?
No.
It's just Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, and it shouldn't be that way because
You don't have to sugarcoat it.
Illinois has enough. I'll say two things. Illinois has plenty of talent. We all know that. Illinois has never won. Not only the event, they have not won a game. They have not won a single game.
And the
They're
entire.
o-
So my
they're-
next question is,
they're
how
0
long?
for the event? Now,
How
I'm
many
putting
years
that
has
out
it-
there because
No, we gonna get to that. I'm going.
But this year is going to be different.
Well, yeah, we hope.
We got some dogs coming from Chicago.
No, because
I want Illinois to bring it.
We got some
hold on,
dogs
we gonna
coming
get to
from
that
Chicago.
because even the players that we have definitely confirmed,
Yeah.
I'm going to challenge them, knowing first off, how many years have the Midwest Challenge been going on?
This will
roughly.
be their 6th year.
This 6 year, and in 6 years, cool. They haven't won the event. Cool, all right, that's understandable. But they have not even won one game.
Nope.
They play really hard though.
No,
They
they've
do
been
come here.
competitive.
They do
It's not
come-
like they
the
did.
squad that comes.
That's participation
Hey.
trophy shit. So what that means is because the
still
way
got
that
that
the way
Chicago
that the
mentality.
event is set up, it's they'll at least play for opportunity to play in the championship, and if
Yes.
they don't, then they'll play for consolation. So that
Yes.
means that they lost the opportunity to go to championship and they lost the consolation.
That's correct.
That is correct.
That is correct.
But I already talked to some of the Chicago guys. I know how y'all coming this year.
Listen.
Daquan, we don't have this conversation.
Yeah. And first of all, I love that kid.
Oh yeah,
He's
a dog.
Dog is an understatement, and I just like his attitude, and he has gotten a bad rap just based off of his basketball journey, right from Peoria to wherever. But if for any person who has not had the opportunity, and I need you to make this a real, for any person that has not had the opportunity to sit down and really talk to Daquan Brown and get to know that kid.
Yeah. He's a great kid.
Like straight up, like get the fuck out of here. Like this kid, he's a great kid. He has a great attitude. He finds the silver lining in every bad situation that he's been through.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great kid. Like, and anybody who knows him, anybody who don't know him, and you're not rooting for a kid like that,
Out your mind.
it's something wrong. It's like you're mentally ill.
Yeah.
You're mentally ill. Like I love that, and I love a lot of the guys who I have built relationships with. Most recently, obviously DJ, CJ, Shaheed, Jashawn. I mean, I could go on and on. Like those guys, and even some of the younger guys. Like, well, not younger, but some of the guys in Xavier's class, the 22 class. I think of Jalen Boots. I think of Montgomery. I forget what his first name is. I think Jaden Shooter, who was at Duke. There's a lot of guys who I have built relationships. Monas and JJ and all of them. When I first started the platform, Day, Diggy, Katen, all of them guys, I built great relationships with them guys. So I'm super interested and excited to see the team that we're trying to put together to come down there and really kind of not just compete. I want them to come down there and at least win a game. Got to get a dub. Got to get a dub.
And not only is it going to be a great event on the floor, which we want it to be, we want Illinois to participate in that aspect of it, but we also, the night before, we're setting up, I won't call it a workshop, because it's really not going to be work. It's going to be just something that they can really have some good takeaways. So we're going to have, I know that I've confirmed it. So Blake Wesley is one of those NBA players that we do some gear for, but
And
his
played in the
parents
event. Played in the event.
and
in
played in the
2021.
event in 2021. He's a Spur now, But his parents are gonna come. We're trying to get Blake. If you don't know what the Spurs are gonna be doing at that point, but if he's released, then he'll be able to come and sit on a panel, because we want to give them some nuggets that they can take away. Because most of these guys, all of these guys, will be going to college hopefully, and most players at this level, they're either the best player on their team or at worst second best. It's not gonna be that way
in
as
college.
a freshman. Not as a freshman, usually.
It's not. I'm dealing with this with Xavier right now.
And that's hard. When
To accept.
I'll give you an example. Eric Hunter Jr. Went to Purdue and finished up at Butler. He's the 7th all-time leading scorer in Indiana history.
Damn.
7th. That's, you talking about, you name it.
Bird.
Guinness,
Yeah.
He's 7th in Indiana history. His freshman year at Purdue, not only were there some games where he did not score, there were several games where he did not take a single shot. Okay, that's hard. And a good relationship with his dad. We talked about a lot of things, because how these fans can be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So having a buffer. So we tell the parents, have somebody that you can talk to, curse with, because you don't want to curse out the fans, right? You want to just have somebody like I was that person. But it was hard on Eric. That was a hard year for him. He got through it, but it's so that freshman year, because to be honest, 75% of the players, when they're fresh, they're not ready to play anyway. Even if they do,
right,
they might get to play, but they're not ready, right? So that aspect is hard. So that's some of the things that we have some players and parents that have gone through that experience there to talk to them.
Grant, talk about your high school and college career.
Man, my high school, college career. High school had a great experience. I played my first 2 years was at Cathedral High School, second 2 years at Hamilton Southeastern. Really proud of the squad that we had there. It was a lot of challenges playing at HSC. Anybody that kind of went through that kind of knows how that was. But we had my senior year, we had big shoes to fill. My sophomore year, the team was Gary Harris, Zach Urban.
Wow.
I think the year before that, it had Randy Gregory. Randy is
the football
NFL.
player?
the football player in the
Yes.
NFL.
Yes.
So we had some dogs. We had back-to-back Mr. Basketballs with Gary and Zach. So my senior year, they weren't really expecting much from our team. But we had, like most of the guys on like my senior year, we've been playing together a long time, since like 4th grade. We ended up breaking the record for wins in school history. Won a sectional championship and would have won state if it wasn't for a couple of injuries and a couple sicknesses. I think Tech ended up winning it that year with Trey Lyles, who was having a great NBA career.
Yep.
But all the guys on that team know what would have happened if we would have saw them again.
Because they beat Tech.
We beat them at their gym
during the regular season.
So
we wanted to
handily.
So, but yeah, I had a great high school career, and then AAU playing for my dad, had some great teammates, some great coaches, and then my college career.
Where'd you start off
my
at?
career at the Air Force Academy.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. So I could talk about Air Force all
shit.
day.
Okay.
Sometimes I can't believe
Air
some of the
Force
stuff
prep
that I did at I legit was enlisted in the Air Force. So I'm talking about basic training, the uniforms, all the strict rules.
Just to play basketball.
Just to play basketball. I mean,
You talk about tough as a parent. You know how when you dropped your son off, you got to see his dorm room and make sure he had sheets and all that stuff.
Nah.
I had that
Yeah.
experience. It was at the airport with a duffel bag over his shoulder and knowing that he was going to get his butt kicked at basic training the next day. That was
the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
it was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough. Yeah. But
What was it like for you? I asked the kids this a lot as it relates to, and your dad said, they're not ready. I asked them along the lines of like, are you prepared to go from high school to being back at the bottom of the totem pole? Like, because most of them go into college, and even with the fanfare of, you think of, the Day-Days and all of them, they go with such fanfare coming out of high school. They have to work their way now. They're back at the bottom of the pile now, as if they're technically they're a freshman again.
And
So
a lot of these guys have never been at the bottom.
Ever.
Yes.
And so that's
even as freshmen in high school.
Yeah,
right?
and so Xavier's dealing with that now. He's
Yeah.
he's literally dealing with that now. And I had a conversation with his coach today.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to have a conversation with Xavier, but he seemingly struggled more than I knew adjusting to college. Like I knew some stuff because he confided, and he started to kind of progress in his interactions with me as son and dad. But there was some stuff he still was either uncomfortable, just didn't want to, or he just didn't know how to tell me. A combination of those things. So my question to you continues to be, how did you adjust to that adjustment, going from the success that you had in high school, the status that you had in high school, to now Air Force and otherwise, like you had to readjust?
I think for me on the court, I didn't have like that crazy like adjustment of being the guy and having like that fanfare that you kind of alluded to, because I was always kind of like an underdog. I was never like the best player taking all the shots on the team. I always had to like fit into a role.
Okay.
I always kind of had to prove myself every single day, in high school, AAU. So I just always kind of had that mentality of I gotta earn it. So the real challenges for me were kind of adjusting to being in the Air Force, and being in the military, being far from home. I mean, like we couldn't have our cell phones during the week. I couldn't call my dad whenever I felt like it. Like, it was more adjusting to that, and I had to really grow up quickly, and kind of deal with these things like mentally, physically. And I think when I look back, like I don't think I'd be the same person without that year at the Air Force Academy. Once you go through something like that, I think anybody that's served in the military that's been through basic training, they'll say like it's the best experience that you never want to go through again. Because like once you go through something like that, you just feel like you can do anything. Like there's nothing like
and you don't need to go through it again.
I don't need to go through it again. But it's like I'm not afraid of like really anything. Like I feel like I can do anything. I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm not afraid of being uncomfortable, because I had to be very uncomfortable a lot of different times. And I'm really thankful for that time period, because just becoming evolving from a kid to a young man to a man, there's a lot of times where you're uncomfortable, and I had to get used to being uncomfortable very early. So I think that's served me in a lot of different ways.
I think also I just want to point out something. So his adversity in really through high school up before he went to college, I think helped him in college, because he wasn't the man. He wasn't this 20-point scorer. I mean, all of that. So when he got to college, he was used to coming off the bench. He was used to staying ready. In his freshman year, even at UMKC, he didn't play the first probably 10 games at all. And I kept, telling him, stay ready. Even something as simple as, I would tell him, Grant, take your warm-up off, look like, if the coach looks down the bench, go like that, but he wouldn't. I wanted him to stay mentally prepared. But when he got his opportunity, it was against New Mexico State. It was at New Mexico State, and they were down, 20 points.
Pascal Siakam was on the team.
Pascal Siakam was on the
Conference
team
Player
at the
of the
time.
Year.
Yeah, and he came in at the 19-minute mark of the second half, because they were down and the coach was just frustrated. He put him in. He hit 3 straight threes, and had a really good play through the entire second half. They ended up losing by a point, but they tied the game with 3 minutes to go, and he was in a rotation after that. Now, had he not stayed locked in mentally when he got that opportunity, to come off the bench. So that's another message to players. You may be in a situation where you got to stay ready.
I'm locked into the fact that you remember the exact game, the exact time frame, and the exact few plays. I was locked into that shit.
I remember.
I'll never forget that first shot going in.
What was crazy, that's the only game of his college career that I wasn't able to see or the live stream. For whatever reason, I couldn't get it. So I was listening to it on like a radio. So imagine that. So I'm sitting there, and announcers, Leach has the ball, he shoots, good. I'm like, yes. So I'm going crazy,
right.
throwing stuff, and so that was a good night.
That's what's up, man.
That was a good night.
What's up.
Having his breakthrough.
You talked about it a little bit when you kind of gave your dad his quick flowers. And one of my questions to you, Grant, is how much of an influence did your dad play on not just your playing career, but how much does he continue to play on impact your overall life?
I mean, I can't overstate it enough. Like my dad, he's my best friend. Like, there's so many things I look back on like that we did together. And I'm just really thankful for it. My dad always says, like, if I wanted to be a play the trumpet, he would have put together something for me to be, because my dad didn't like force me to play basketball. My dad didn't play basketball really. He played football and baseball growing up, but I think he just was like, I'm gonna pour into whatever he wants to do, and it just happened to be basketball. So like I just always had a great relationship with my dad. I count on him for a lot. Anytime I've ever need anything, to this day, like I could call my dad, he'll always answer the phone. Like I remember, when you're a kid, obviously you want your parents to answer the phone, but like I remember being like 23 years old, calling my dad just randomly, and he's like, he answers, "Hey son, I'm in a meeting with my boss, like working." And I'm like, "Oh, you didn't have to answer. Like you can just, call me in a few minutes." But he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna always answer the phone anytime you call." And it's just like just a small example of how he's just always been there for me when, times been rough. Like I had some dark days, like as anybody does. And I just know I can always call him and we'll get to the bottom of it together.
It's something that you said that, I really resonated with is that you mentioned that he always poured into whatever you wanted to do. If you wanted to play the trumpet, like whatever, he would have found a way to kind of encourage you to do that. Like that's really dope to hear, because even like I know both you mentioned the trumpet. I know both children they play instruments. Guitar, drums. His family is all of his children are very artistic. They're very artistic, and so I think about my children, just kind of pouring into them. I think about us growing up, our parents. Like, so I really love to hear stuff like that about fathers, because we are, they talk about, they say that the most disrespected person on the earth is a black woman. Well, I feel like the most underappreciated person on the earth is the black man, the black father, and sometimes even in our own homes, right? Like, whether intentionally or unintentionally, I think our women take us for granted. They don't appreciate us. It's like one of those things of like, that's what you're supposed to do. And they're right. It is what we're supposed to do. But I don't think that we get enough of an opportunity to give ourselves grace, because grace is never given to us. And so to hear children, adult children in this case, but to hear children talk about the relationship that they have with their fathers and appreciate what they did for them, and they can pull from experiences. Like I relish that type of interaction, just to hear that stuff. Like I love hearing that stuff, because I sometimes in my own home, and I'm gonna be crystal clear about something. My wife does a really good job of trying her best to make sure that my role is on top. Like, dad is the king of this castle, and yada yada yada. She does a great job of that, but unfortunately for her, and sometimes through her own undoing, society pokes these holes in us as men, that even in your own home you feel like you're not worthy. You know what I mean? Like, there are times like, I'll walk around my own home and through nothing at all that she's done. I mean, absolutely nothing. Matter of fact, I'll come home and her every beckoning interaction is to kind of make me feel like, the king of the castle is home. But the world has fucked me up so bad that day. It's like, nah, you with them. You are out. That's kind of like, that's sometimes like my whatever towards her unfairly. And so it's always good to know that's, the people, our children that's closest to us, like really can kind of pinpoint and understand like what we go through and appreciate what we do. So
no, that's real.
No, that's real.
That's
you know what I'm saying? Like I deal with that. I deal with that a lot in my own home. And again, my children and Celeste, they do a really good job of making sure I don't feel that way.
Right.
And through no fault of their own, sometimes just an interaction out in the world, I'll come home and I'm like, nah, you with them.
If you're not getting poured into at home, that's a problem, because there's enough.
It is a problem, and I am. To be fair, I am. I get poured into at home, but sometimes again, I'll come home and my mom plays tricks on me like, nah, you with them. You are out.
Right.
And so, like, I want to be isolated. I want to be in my own space. I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to be coddled. I don't want to be none of that shit, because, like, it's a constant, like, nah, you with them motherfuckers. I don't trust it. I don't trust you.
Right.
I don't know. So, like, to hear that, like, I don't know, it just does something to me, man.
I mean, growing up, it was just me and my dad at home. So it's just us. So like we had that bond. It's like, you know, we would go, you know, watch a movie or go play basketball. But, you know, some of the things you kind of alluded to, I definitely saw my dad carry that even as a kid, like being a single black father, having to work a full-time job. And, you know, there's definitely jobs like he probably, you know, he had to kind of turn down to make sure that he could be there for me and pick me up from school and take me to school in the morning. I mean, I remember a situation, I don't even know if you know I know this, but I remember you on the phone with your boss one time because he was upset that you weren't coming to this meeting like early in the morning.
Yep.
And you had to take me to school. And you like, Will, you want me to do with my son? I gotta take my son to school. So I just know like there's
one of them things where the corporate American can play this game with you. I couldn't take him to 7:30.
Right.
And they knew that. So they purposely scheduled a meeting at 7. Because none of the people within our group had kids, right? So I had to have his grandparents take him, just so you know I didn't want to that be the
because we're not respected in
so
this
that kind of stuff. But that's that we could have a whole podcast about that.
Yeah, it is, and so I actually want to touch on that. So even like now in my current situation, you know, I'm currently not working. I've been on yesterday. I went on my 21st job interview. I've been on 21 job interviews, and in those interviews though, 95% of them are with women. 75% of them are black women in these social service roles, and while I'm at least trying to sell myself as the best candidate for the employee position they're trying to fill, I'm making it crystal clear that while yes, I want this job, this $40,000 or $50,000 entry level job that really won't drop a bucket in my overhead as far as home, but I need the job. I want to be crystal clear, and this is shit that I'm saying to them. I want to be crystal clear about something, is that this job will not come before my children. Like, you know, there's a two household. My children come from a two parent household, but it don't just all fall on her. I take my son to school in the morning. She picks him up, or if there's a time where I take him and I have to pick him up, I will. My son is in college. Even when he was in high school, I don't miss games. When Xavier was in Philly and was playing, when he first started playing basketball and was playing football, I flew home every weekend. When I was here, every weekend I flew home. So my children come before anything. I make that crystal clear. And in the beginning, all the jobs I've had since I've been here, in the beginning they give like, oh yeah, we understand, until it's time for me to pull that card. Like, oh no, my son has something going on. I can't do that. Yeah. And then it's friction there, and it's like, well, I fucking told you.
Right. You know, it's funny. I'm listening to you talk about your experience with 21 interviews. I went through something similar. You know why they haven't hired you yet?
No.
Because they're looking at you and they know that you, even though you think you need that job, they know that you're worth more. And I went through that. Like, I was trying to, you know, convince. I mean, they would look at my resume. I'm
clearly overqualified.
Yes,
overqualified,
and would not hire me because they knew that I was worth more. And I need this for the insurance or whatever it was. And you know, once I finally, I ended up getting the position, but that only lasted so long. So I said, you know what? I'm not going back to corporate. I'm just not going to do it. But I ended up going back because they paid me enough to where, because you know, it was actually this gentleman ended up being my boss. I ended up working for, but I helped him get a job when I was at Pepsi when he was in college, and so he doubled back. You know. Anyway, so
it's funny that you mentioned that because I see them. Me, you know, I see how they interact with me. Either like it goes from the.
But they know.
I know they know because this is what I deal with. They looking at my, and I purposely, first of all, you know, they always tell you to kind of.
They think you're not going to stay.
Well, that too.
6 months.
That too. So, but they look at my resume. Most resumes you're supposed to give like a 1 page, and they kind of condense it, whatever. I don't do that. My shit 4 pages. I want you to. I'm not fucking kidding. Y'all think I'm fucking? I got one in my bag.
4 pages, more.
I'm gonna tell you hell no, we got her in here. We're like, we're not gonna be the coaches.
Listen,
we're not gonna be the coaches, dude.
I'm not kidding. But there's a method why I do that. Yeah. Like, because I want them to know, like, all the experience isn't just the job that I'm interviewing for. I have the experience to do this job. I have the experience to do your job, and I have the experience to do the job of the person that's supervising you. I do that on purpose. Then I also do it on purpose because this $40,000 or $50,000 job is well well below my value. So I want you to see that too. And then I also want you to see in those time frames to let you know, like, yeah, I'm going to stay here to do the job, but the minute I don't like the job, I'm not going to leave for another job just for shits and giggles. I'm going to leave because I don't like you or this job itself. Like, so I do that on purpose.
You know what, brother? We gonna figure out how you don't not need a job at all. We gonna speak that.
So I was actually
right now. This microphone.
Listen. Hold on. I promise you. I was going to tie this into the reason why I think
you're gonna need one page. This is what I'm.
The reason I really believe, because I was getting ready to go back to Philly. Yeah. I actually took a job in Philly, and I just recently.
I was going to ask you about that.
I just recently.
No, we gonna figure it out.
Listen. Let me tell you. I just recently told them that I was going to have to. I declined the job. Right, so I am staying.
Yeah, we need you in the city.
Yeah, I am staying. So I actually forgot my entire train of thought where I was going with that. But right now it's like, oh, I know what it is. I feel like the reason why that nothing has come down the pipeline, I really am starting to believe that God is purposely not giving me a job because he wants me to really pour into this exposure runs thing. I really believe that.
Yeah.
And I just right now I'm just stuck in the mud of like,
man, they might gonna hire you with your 4-page resume.
No,
man, they can look at this. They probably after we left, they probably like, do you know this guy came in here with a
you're
not hiring
whether
me.
they do that or not, bro, I make it all the way to the crazy thing is I make it all the way to the end of the
I
thing.
bet you do.
Yeah.
They probably thinking they can learn something from you. We're not gonna hire him, but maybe we can learn something from the
Check
interview.
his resume. We're going to
Right.
out at 3 o'clock. We're going to see how we can
Right.
use this in a
Do I hire you?
At this point I really don't fucking care. So but I get what you're saying. What is your dad like as a boss?
As a boss,
You told me what he's like as a dad. What is he like as a boss?
It's like working with my dad. You know, I mean, I think he's a great boss. Obviously, there's it's an age gap. You know, sometimes he does stuff differently than I might do it. But I think
I'm etch and sketch. He's
iPad pen.
Yeah. He wanna write notes on a piece of paper, take a picture of it, and send it to me. I'm like, you could have just. There's a better way to do that.
That's why I'm like, hey, you do it. You handle that.
But we work well together. Well together.
That's wild as hell. Write out a note,
fun.
take a picture, and send it to you.
Hey, it's etch and sketch.
Yeah. What is it like having your son work for you or work with you rather?
You know, the goal for me, and I've shared this with him, is 3 to 5 years for him to be running this company, and I can just play golf or walk on the beach or whatever. That's
because right now you're working for a Fortune 500 company,
that's the plan.
right?
Must you mean yeah, yeah.
That's the plan, and we're on track for that. I'm gonna continue to pour into him, and there's certain things that, as with him being, we're different generations, that I know I'm smart enough to know as a business person that I'm not necessarily my target customer. At least at my age, right?
Okay.
It's probably more his age or your age or even your age. I'm the old dude in the crowd right now, right? So I want to make sure that I keep the freshness, the young people around,
right.
so that
We can be more relatable for the business model.
Yes, I mean,
got you.
it's hard for me to relate to a 13-year-old or a 19-year-old or what have you. As much as I try to stay youthful, I'm not, right? So,
Yeah.
People never know how old you are, though.
Well, I don't.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Bless.
All right, yeah, that's a good thing. What do you both see as the major difference between high school basketball in Illinois and high school basketball in Indiana?
I would say the physicality. It's a lot more physical here. Like I see a lot of calls get let go. The speed of the game is a little different, but in some ways it's not that much different. Yeah.
What about you, Anthony?
I think that Indiana is underestimated for its toughness, and I think that Illinois is underestimated for its skill, its finesse. I think they both. I think the reputation in Chicago, the kids are dogs, the kids are tough, and they are, but
There's some dogs in Indiana.
There's skill too here.
It's some,
And the same thing with Indiana. I mean, there's most supposed to be shooters and more finesse, but there's some dogs in Indiana. So I think
But
that,
I will
think it's probably more similarities than differences between the two states.
I will say, growing up, I went to school in Indiana, but I would spend the summers in Chicago with my mom. My mom lived on the south side.
Okay.
So in the summers, I'd be here outside playing at the park. I used to go to those workouts with Sonny Parker, and
that's Jabari's father, right?
yeah, Jabari's dad, and I would come back to Indiana a different player.
Yeah.
You know, I would come back a dog playing a lot more aggressive, a lot stronger. And I mean, that kind of goes with just on the court and off the court. I feel like I had a good balance of, two different ways of life.
As we're approaching the Midwest Challenge coming up next month, in regards to it, tell us what we can expect May 10th and May 11th.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun, certainly for the fans. If you're looking for just great basketball, I mean, even the event last year, every game was decided by 7 points or less. We had an overtime game, so they compete. It's an all-star game, but it's a competition, and they play hard. They're representing their state. I mean, you got Team Illinois or Indiana, Wisconsin, or Michigan on your chest. You know, so if you should not want to embarrass your state, right? Mm-hmm. So they play like it. So it's going to be competitive, top players, and we'll see which best team wins.
Gear, we're gonna be
crazy.
We're gonna take care. Kids are gonna get gear. The uniforms, I'm very excited about the uniform reveal we're gonna have. And then from a player standpoint, me personally, obviously I went to the Air Force Academy in Colorado. People from all over, no matter where you're from, you think where you're from got the best basketball.
Oh, yeah.
And there's not many opportunities where you can prove it.
Show it.
Where you can show it. Everybody in Chicago says Chicago got the best basketball. Indiana, they don't say that. Wisconsin, Michigan.
And they supposed to.
And there's a few opportunities where you get to have those bragging rights. And May 11th is the time where you get to have that and carry it for a long time. And the camaraderie that you end up having, like you might be the top player in Illinois, top player in Michigan. You might play each other on the circuit. But at this event, you'll get to hang out, kick it. Yep. And you never know. You might be college teammates, especially with how things are in the portal. Yep. And eventually, a lot of these guys will end up playing professionally together overseas or might have the same agent. So it's going to be a great opportunity to network.
We have some guys that are unsigned that play in Midwest Challenge, and some of them, we've live streamed most of the events, or the college coaches come, and they've gotten
some offers.
They've gotten offers and opportunity from the game.
Both of you actually alluded to my next question. Obviously, the goal is to be the best in your state, whether it's Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, or Illinois. What is the hope that this becomes a national event where other states eventually will either come here, you take it there, or have a neutral location, maybe even taking on that role, if you will, because, the McDonald's All-American game has gotten watered down for just all prep schools. What is the goal for this event to become that national event?
The vision behind Midwest Challenge was it for the ultimately be national challenge. As we had a meeting even in Tulsa to take it there. Mm-hmm. But that would be the goal. Maybe not 50 states, but somewhere in that 28 to 32, the ones that really
why not 50?
There may not be a team Idaho. I don't know, but might not be a team Hawaii or what have you.
Trajan Lane was a great player.
But if Idaho want to bring it, they can bring it. But that would be the goal. I think I know it would be really exciting to have that happen. Obviously, it would take, even a greater level of sponsorship.
Absolutely.
And networks and things like that.
Absolutely.
So, but that's the ultimate goal.
It's so crazy how you are segueing my next questions. Who are some of your sponsors for this event?
Well, our main sponsor is Wise Financial Group. They're a Northwestern Mutual partner. Mark Wise, he actually has some NBA players that he represents, Blake Wesley being one of them, financial advisor. So that's our main sponsor. American Family Insurance is also a sponsor.
Okay.
We've got a caterer, Real Taste Catering in Indianapolis, does stuff for the Colts, for the Pacers. Truly Fragrance Bar is a new business that's opening for. You can make your own fragrance. They're going to be a sponsor this year as well.
Okay.
So we've got some sponsors that's still coming in as well. So.
Okay.
It's not too late.
Oh, it's not
like
too
to be a
late.
sponsor. It's not too
Okay.
late.
All right. Cool. Grant, when you played, actually, did you? You said you played. You said your dad played baseball and football.
I played a couple of years in high school. That was it.
Okay.
You know, back then you didn't transfer and all that stuff.
Back then.
you know,
I mean, that's back.
yeah.
Back then, it was like 50,
But it's funny though. It's like one of my best friends. I was telling, I wasn't very good in high school, and he said, Tony, you were pretty good, but there's two guys that were better than you, so you got cut. Now I could have went back. If it was now, I would have went somewhere else and played.
Right.
I'd have been just been okay. But back then, you just didn't. If
You
you
just
got cut. That was it.
That was it. That was the end of the journey.
Your mom and dad told you to go on somewhere or get better, and I said, all right, I'll just play other sports.
Grant, when you played, who was barbecue chicken? Who you give buckets to? Name them.
Who did I give buckets to?
In high school.
The first, in high school.
And college.
I was gonna say college. I used to love coming to play Chicago State, and obviously, Eddie. I think Eddie was a GA at the time.
Okay.
So he was probably scouting me. Didn't do a great job. But I used to come to Chicago State
He
and
had
play
his
well.
two of his best games were against Chicago State.
And what about high school?
High school, I used to, who in high school? I'm trying to think like a specific player.
Noblesville.
Noblesville, yeah. I used to have some good games against Noblesville. Obviously, Carmel. Carmel was like our rival. They won state back to back. We ended up beating them in our in sectionals. But yeah, probably Noblesville, Carmel.
Okay.
Those are my favorite teams to get buckets to.
From college and in high school, what player actually gave you buckets?
So in high school, I was usually the guy that guarded the best player.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get killed too often, but James Blackman probably he had 30.
Not on you though.
Not mostly on me, but he
Yeah.
had some good buckets on me. So James Blackman definitely gave me buckets. Ryan Klein, actually I played pretty good defense on Ryan Klein.
He played at Purdue.
When
Okay.
I played at Purdue. Actually had a huge
Started
game in I think the Sweet 16 a couple years ago. He had like 6 or 7 threes.
Mm.
Yeah.
But in college, I actually have a funny story. So we played at Kansas. I think I was a freshman. Josh Jackson was on the team for Kansas. And I remember I had to like a long closeout on Josh Jackson, and he blew past me and went and did this crazy move. And my coach snatched me out the game, and he was like, "What are you doing? Why you can't stay in front of him?" I'm like, "Coach, if I could stay," I didn't say this, but it's like, if I could stay in front of that guy, I probably wouldn't be at this school. Like, because I mean,
True.
that
Facts.
Kansas squad was incredible. And then Frank Mason, yeah, he had I'm probably on one of his
Frank Mason
highlight
was
tapes
like
somewhere.
Diesel as hell too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Frank Mason. Both of you guys, name your all-time NBA player. 5 starters, 1 6-man,
5 starters
and 1 6-man.
Magic,
Okay.
Jordan. That's easy. Magic, Jordan, LeBron, Tim Duncan, and well, it's not easy. It's easy for me. Bill Russell.
Okay. Who your 6-man?
Larry Bird.
Okay. Okay. Well, go ahead, Grant. Who you got?
Okay, I'm gonna go.
I know LeBron on your list.
I'm gonna go Steph. Mike, Kobe, LeBron, and then I'll go Shaq at the 5.
Okay. Who your
And then
6
off
man?
the bench, a 6-man. I want to go with Allen Iverson.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
what
gonna
I'm
go
talking
Allen
about.
Iverson.
I got AI, Kobe, MJ, LeBron, Hakeem, and my 6-man is Jamal Crawford.
Jamal Crawford.
Okay, I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, the
You gonna
pinnacle
get-
6
you
man.
gonna get
6-man
buckets.
GOAT.
Yep, 6-man go. Obviously, both you guys know that I'm Muslim. In our religion, we believe that our parents, we believe that our children pick us as their parent. Anthony, hearing that, what does it mean knowing that Grant picked you as his father to guide him, to develop him, to raise him? Talk about him and how important your family is to you, brother.
Well, it's really important. I mean, family means everything to me.
And you have another
So
son.
funny
You said
when
you have 2 other
I have
children.
a 15-year-old.
Mhm.
But when we left Chicago when he was 4 years old, we lived in a gated community. We were We got divorced, but we were the only black family in the neighborhood and the youngest. And we moved out of that 6,000 square foot house into, I learned a valuable lesson from that. From 6,000 square foot house here, moved back, lived with my parents for 6 months in a 2-bedroom house, 1,200 square feet, right? And I was so worried about how he was going to feel going from that square footage to
Your grandparents.
He did not care. Only thing he cared about was being with his dad.
Yeah, that's all.
And that he was loved. He had his grandparents. And when I saw that, I knew everything was going to be okay. So I couldn't have picked a better son. He was really, really easy to raise. And it's still a joy raising him even to this day.
What does that mean hearing that?
I mean,
Emotional episode. I tell you that. I was trying to stop crying.
yeah, man, that's yeah. I've shed many tears thinking about my dad and our relationship, and I couldn't ask for a better dad. I could not ask for a better dad. Like when I talk about like my best friend, I can talk to him about anything. I mean, girls, business, just life, dealing with friends, just anything. I feel like I can't ever do enough to repay him, but I'm definitely going to do the best that I can.
To try.
Yeah, so like you said, 3 to 5 years, I'm looking forward, sooner than that, I'm going to say sooner than that, I'm looking forward to him not having to do anything he doesn't want to do with his business or otherwise. So I think that's the best thing I could probably do, and just, yeah, I'm going to always be there for you, always.
That's love. Both of you guys, what do you guys think about the Exposure Runs platform and what we're doing, and for the high school athlete? Like, what's your overall thoughts of our platform?
I love the platform. When I moved back here 2 years ago, I saw your Instagram page and saw some of the events that you were doing. I think you were doing them like during the pandemic when nobody was really doing anything, and I just looked at you and was like, that is brilliant. Like, it kind of reminded, and I've told you this, you kind of remind me of my dad, just how you kind of created the platform for your son. And by you trying to do something for your son, you've been able to help, I don't know, hundreds of kids probably at this point. And then from that first time I saw you, I think the next event was at 167 Green. And you just surpassed and just continue to level up every single time. And I remember that first meeting we had at Starbucks, I think we sat in there for like an hour.
No, it was longer than that.
It was longer than an hour.
It was like 2 or 3 hours. We were just talking, chopping
yeah.
it up, and you've been a great friend. And
I remember after that meeting, I actually called your dad. I called your dad, like, yo, your son is all right, man. Like, I like this kid. Yeah. And then from there, every time we've kind of fluctuated between Starbucks and our eating spot.
What's it?
Afro Joe's.
Yeah, you put me on. They got some good food, good coffee. Yeah, that's one of the spot. I gotta take you there.
Yeah,
maybe tomorrow on your way back.
Yeah, one of my favorite spots, man. I actually we need to pop in there and see if they want to get down to some sponsorship.
Sponsor, they should.
Yeah, because I'm in there a lot.
But I'm super proud of you. Like, I remember when you were like starting the podcast, I'm like, that's exactly what you should do. I told you, like, you have a great voice, like, you're very entertaining when you talk, you got great stories. Like, I think you're hilarious. So I think this like platform is perfect, and I'm excited with you and I appreciate like the support that you've given us. Like, you shout us out on every podcast, and just there's been a lot of people that reach out to me and say, hey, I want to do business with you. I heard about you from Mustafa. Like, says great things about you. And then
I love the platform. I mean, I think it's, first of all, you're definitely appreciated. You definitely need it in this community. Your voice, your vision, and you're probably at a tenth of what this is going to be. In the future, I think this will go beyond Chicago, but you're definitely, and we want to be there for that ride with you. Because
I definitely would love to, you guys. Which actually is going to be my other question. Like, when you guys, and I don't know whose idea was, but like when you guys decided to come on, like I really do. I mean, not so much. I really do consider, like, you guys really are like our official sponsor. Like, y'all are sponsor of what we're doing from the runs to the podcast. Like, I really consider you guys not just a sponsor, but like I look at you guys as like friends. Like, you know, I might be a little bit more closer with Grant just because we talk more, but I feel like when you and I do talk, it's like two fathers talking about their kids that we just happen to do business together. And when I talk to Grant is what I envision and hope and pray that Xavier will eventually develop into, and that's a huge. I know that's a great a compliment, and he's and to be clear, he's well on his way to doing that. But you have, first of all, you represent your family and your father in such a beautiful way, like just the way you talk, the way you communicate, the way you do business, the way you encourage, the way like you do a great job as the face of SVI, if you will. And you hold yourself in such like I really enjoy interacting with you, from when we texting and talking shit to when we texting and doing business, to the combination of the two, and even some conversations that you and I have had at Afro Joe's about relationships and stuff. And it's been great, like stuff that you don't even realize that you've helped me with, like because I'm way past that stage that you are with your lady, right? But the stage that you are with where you are with your lady is probably the stage where I need to really kind of get better at as a husband. And so listening to some of that shit is kind of like, yeah, I guess I could be doing that shit. I used to do that shit, right? That's how I got here, and now it's kind of like I got you now. Like,
you gotta stay locked in.
Yeah, you gotta stay locked in. So, but it's also dope to see when she at the events with you, like how well y'all interact with each other, and just kind of. I think that's dope. So, like, I know I've told you this before in private or on the phone or in texting, but you got a great kid. Like, you have a great kid, bro. Like, you should be really, really, and I know that you are.
Very proud of him.
But you should be very proud of this dude. Yeah, he represents the Leach name phenomenally. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Like, this kid is doing a great job. So I really appreciate you guys. I was looking forward to this episode. I was looking forward to talking to you guys. I'm looking forward to wherever this platform goes that y'all are like right there with me. And I'm looking forward to getting to a point where like, particularly, you, Anthony, but like even as Grant is, coming up, that from the business side that you guys are able to really kind of help me develop a business model and just kind of develop from the business side of things. Like, you might want to do this. You might want to just from either a consultation type of thing or like, yo, what should I do? Like, I need you to help me or just do this for me. Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm looking for. So I think I can speak for Bo in saying that, thank you very much. Really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate you.
Yeah, it's been a great relationship, and I hope that we continue it. Like even you trusting me to, help do this. The Midwest Challenge. Like I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and Jerry West this thing. Yeah. Put this motherfucking team together. You know what I'm saying? So
that's only right.
No, I appreciate it.
Wouldn't that be something if? I mean, I don't know.
That would be something.
I don't know if you've seen the trophy, but the trophy is.
If I'm responsible for bringing that thing back,
it's not an award-sized little trophy.
It's because when they win, that motherfucker coming right. It's gonna sit right here. It's gonna sit right there. The trophy gonna be the guest on the next podcast. I'm not gonna have a guest, and I'm gonna talk to the trophy.
It's about a 3-4 foot trophy.
All right, we gonna have a show with the trophy, with the Team Illinois trophy. Lastly, before you go, I do want you both to look into the camera and give yourselves future messages. What do you want Grant to look back on, and what do you want to tell him? And the same thing, what do you want to tell Anthony when you look back on this one?
Look back on
just the message that you're going to give yourself. So
wait, what's the time frame?
So
just anywhere in the future.
Anywhere in the future, like you see this video and you speaking in third person, Grant X Y Z ABC.
Well, I just want to start off by saying, like, when I first got here, when I first moved back to Chicago and started, doing the business here, I didn't really know a lot of people, and I've met a lot of great people that have helped me grow my business and just kind of, be in the right situations, like Curtis Henderson with Project Love. That was like one of the first big events that I did here. Mm-hmm. Then obviously, exposure runs. Eddie and Aubrey Denard, like
shout out to the big bros.
And everybody I mentioned, like y'all really become some of my brothers. And you all do great work for the kids in the city. Tracy Abrams with Positive Impact Chicago.
Shout out.
Paulie Jackson with Edify. Got a big event tomorrow, Undiscovered Showcase. A lot of the top seniors playing in that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's Daniel Poneman's joint.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, shout out to Daniel.
Yeah,
Yep.
we did the uniforms for them.
Oh, okay, that's great.
What's up?
That's great.
Yeah.
When kids couldn't get in my joint, I directed. See, the people think that you talked about the whatever with the Chicago and them. It's like
Right.
they when they couldn't get into my event, it wasn't the end all be all. Not only did I send them to Daniel Poneman's way, I made sure they had his Twitter link, the Undiscovered
Yeah.
Twitter link, and the website to sign up. My event is full, but here's another event that you should go sign up for.
Straight up.
Yeah.
So
And
I would say a huge portion of them kids that signed up, I sent them that way.
That's exactly what I think is really powerful about everybody I just mentioned. We kind of talked about how, you said you wish Chicago was more united. I think since I've been here, I've seen a lot of people work together. Like everybody I've mentioned, I've seen them work together
That's
and
good.
do things for the community. And I'm excited to see where that continues to go. But like for me, like 5 years from now, I want to be CEO of SVI Sportsware and Prep Ball Stars. I want to be able to put on more events for the kids, and I want them to be able to come for free. I want to continue to give back to the people that have helped me grow the business here, like everybody I just mentioned. And I want to be able to give a scholarship, like a meaningful amount of money to one senior basketball player that is interested in business, entrepreneurship, STEM, something like that. But yeah, I think I want to hit it before 5 years. I'll probably say like 2 years.
Okay.
But yeah, I want to be CEO of SVI Sportswear. I don't want my dad to be working anymore unless he wants to.
Okay. Pop, what about you?
I would say one of the things that I've always told in one of my quotes is it's not my quote, but one of my favorite quotes is life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you handle it. And so I would always tell him that, and it's really true. How you handle things, and he's handled a lot of things well in his life, and so have I. But for the future, he just said it. I want him to retire me. And one of the things I want to do, you talk about listening to podcasts or audiobooks, and I was walking along the beach probably 4 or 5 years ago, whenever it was, and I was listening to this podcast when this gentleman, he had this, I think it was like a tech company or whatever. You think he made $20 million, sold it for $20 million, started it for $500,000, sold it for $20 million, whatever. And he's been doing just different things since he did that. But one of the things he talked about doing was, he's a black man. He helped 10 black men become millionaires. And when he retires me, that's one of the things I would like to do. I don't know if the number is 10, 5, whatever, but I want to help other black men or women become millionaires. That would be what that looks like exactly. I'm not sure, but that's something that.
Feel free to make Mustafa the guinea pig. Of
You're
that.
coming.
Oh, you're top of the list.
Yeah, you're on the list.
Top of the list.
No, I appreciate that.
Gotta be.
Again, I really appreciate you guys. You have definitely become a part of my circle. I keep my circle pretty small, but you guys have definitely infiltrated that circle, and I can't thank you enough for everything. You I don't know if I would be where I'm at without SVI, because you guys have kind of given the brand, you actually kind of helped the brand just become the brand. Like I just had a name.
Speaking of which, let me give my son a shout out here. His uniform design.
Oh yeah.
He been killing it up.
Yeah.
Yours.
Yeah.
Listen, crazy.
Listen. My shit now is a
Denard Bros. Shout out to Denard Bros.
Shout out to Denard Bros.
Yeah.
But for
Shout out to Progression.
for exposure runs, right? So just the name here, but like with Grant uniforms now, and even now on the merchant shit with the sky, it's now a staple.
Yeah.
When I'm going through the airports, people are stopping me like, who is this? What is this hoodie? And I'm explaining it in Philly and in Chicago, in Arizona. I've wore the hoodie in Arizona, Las Vegas, California, Philadelphia. Here, obviously, I've traveled all over driving wise.
It's catchy.
It's very catchy. The name,
logo,
but like him
logo,
adding
it's
the
crazy.
logo. Let me tell you a
And
quick
then who's
story.
this? Is that X?
No.
Is that?
Yes, but no. So, quick story. When I came up with the idea to do this, initially the name was going to be called Run DMC, Run with the Man-Child or some shit like that. You know, that's Xavier's little moniker or whatever. Shout out to Will. He gave him that moniker. And I was on a plane to New Jersey. Well, going to Philly. We was going on vacation to New Jersey. We go down to the shore, right? I'm literally sketching on the plane on how I wanted this thing to look. I reached out to Fiverr and I had about 5 sketches from this plane ride, 5 to 10 sketches. Finally created what I wanted when we got to New Jersey. So got to Philly, sketch. Drove to Jersey, sketch. Finally got to the Airbnb. Had it what I thought I wanted.
Etch and sketch does work, don't it?
Yeah, that's old guys.
Old school shit.
Old school shit. Got to Jersey. I sent it to Fiverr. At the same time, a really good friend of mine who is a DJ, a well-respected and known DJ on the East Coast, he didn't like it. He was like, it's too long, it's too this, it's too that. And I just was like, I like it. When I got about 2 or 3 different designs back from the Fiverr guy who did it, who I paid for, so it's mine.
Right.
And I told him how I wanted the thing to look with the art and the basketball and this is what we came up with.
Yeah.
And I've been in love with it ever since.
Tough.
But your design with the skyline just took it to another level.
Yeah.
I mean, took it to another level. And everybody loves those hoodies.
They're fire.
Loves them.
More colorways on the way.
For sure.
More colorways are definitely on the way.
For sure.
But it makes it easy. Like when the logo is like this, like it's very creative. It gives me a lot of pieces to work with. Like maybe the second exposure runs, like I use these flames like on the shorts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or like I use just the ball with the flames.
Yes.
Like, in different places.
Those shorts were popular too. We need to
Yeah.
kind of bring those back.
Yeah,
But
so-
the whole thing, man. So like you guys all I had was the logo. Y'all really made it a brand. Y'all helped me make it a brand. Y'all helped make my logo a brand.
Move, you the brand. You the brand, Move. The personality,
You know what I'm saying? I be trying to tell
the
them.
attitude, all
I'm
of
gonna
that.
tell you this. We gonna speak.
People-
we gonna speak to it into existence. You're not gonna need a job, man.
I said, man,
We're gonna
make it happen.
thank you for saying
It's
that.
gonna happen.
I
For
would say that
Yeah, he
for
definitely
a while.
has been saying that for
Nah,
a
you're
while.
not.
Keep saying like,
You're not gonna need
you gotta
one.
understand
I hope I don't go
what
homeless before that happens.
you want.
But on that note, man, we're gonna go, man. Again, I do appreciate y'all. May 10th, May 11th.
May 11th, Midwest Challenge. I got a few more shout outs if you don't mind.
No, don't at all.
We got a big summer on the way. Denard Bros Pro Runs starting up this summer. We got Dizzy Runs with Kyle Guy in Indianapolis. Tyrese Halliburton played in it last year. Obi Tobin played in it last year. Obviously, Denard Bros having all the top pros in the city coming through. And then Midwest Challenge.
Saturday, May 11th.
Saturday, May
Indianapolis
11th.
Tech High
Oh,
School.
I'm
You can
as well
come
just
in
go ahead.
person.
We
Illinois gonna bring
working
some
on
tickets.
doing a high school.
We'll have merch for sale. Buy some
program.
shirts. We'll have
Yeah,
exposure run
definitely.
merch.
We
Exposure ones on the live stream.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely,
we got live
definitely,
stream.
definitely.
So tune in, support us, show
And,
some love.
we trying to get our high school program thing off the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta make it
So
happen.
we're gonna talk about that. But no, I appreciate you guys, man. I really do. I know y'all got somewhere to be, so I'm gonna let y'all go. I'm gonna give my shout outs, of course, to my children, Xavier and Zayden, aka Zay and Ziggy. My guy AGM Plus over there, Bo Harris. Appreciate you, broski. My guy Tyree Booker from Numerex. Of course, I have to say it because they are actually here now.
You can't forget it.
I can't forget
That'd
it.
be wild.
I mean, that would be wild.
Very wild.
That would be wild if I don't say it. And they're sitting right here.
Right here.
So definitely want to give a shout out to SVI Sportsware, Anthony and Grant Leach. Really appreciate you guys. To my guy Derek Ellison, National Scouting Director and Consultant for Macker and Fire, Shot Prep Example Academy, aka the Bone Collector. And of course, I want to give a shout out to my partner with the Chi-Town Showcase and the Unsigned Senior Showcase, Ryan Foran. All of these gentlemen, 2 of which are to my right, have played a vital role in the growth of exposure runs. Actually, 2 are to my right, 1 is to my upper left. So 3 gentlemen have played a vital role in the exposure runs platform. So thank you, gentlemen, very much. And on that note, we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks for having us.